Hello, Dawn.
Hello. I said to Laura, I was like, should we start this one off saying hello, Dawn, rather than hello, Laura? Because one of our listeners is called Laura, and every time she turns on her podcast, she jumps up when I shout, hello, Laura. So that was for you.
Laura.
Yeah.
So we've had quite the week. We really have had quite the week. It's been like a really ridiculously exciting week where we hit 65k downloads,
Yeah.
4,000 Instagram followers. We're still in Spotify's top 50 and something else, which we're not going to say just yet because you shouldn't count your chickens, but yes.
Yes.
And so it's been this incredible week of achievements, but we've also had a really difficult week. And ironically, it was Dawn's been wanting to do it for ages anyway. This has been the week that we decided to do imposter syndrome. And it could not be a more perfect time for an episode in a time where we've achieved so much, felt so shit, and ended up upsetting ourselves and each other.
Yeah. This is it. Like I came back from holiday and obviously post-holiday blues didn't help. Plus premenstrual, all the rest of it. So I was a little bit depressed and just feeling a little bit meh. And imposter syndrome definitely has had a big part to play in all of that. So
yeah, it's we've got some juicy stuff for you.
Yeah,
we've been on a journey, haven't we?
This is probably the thing that I'd say affects my ADHD the most is the imposter syndrome. So
yeah,
it's a good episode to dive into.
Yeah, absolutely. We've also got the answers to your polls. So thank you your answer to our your fucking hell. Your answers to our polls. Sorry about that. And we'll do our own personal reflections as well. So shall we dive in?
Let's go.
ADHD as females. ADHD AF. ADHD as females. The podcast.
Hi, I'm Dawn.
Hi, I'm Laura, and we are ADHD AF. Seriously. We are two neurodivergent neighbours who moved to the same street at the same time, at the same age, with the same undiagnosed disability. What are the chances?
Since discovering the enormous impact ADHD has had on our lives and the horrifying numbers of missing undiagnosed females, it has become our mission to make some serious noise.
We want to use our voices to raise awareness, break the stigma, and share our experiences in the hope that they help others.
So join us for a chat, or as it's called up here in Aberdeen, a blether.
Trigger warning, we will be covering some really sensitive topics, so please do have a read of the description of each episode before listening.
It's important to note that we are not medical professionals. We're not therapists or coaches. We're not qualified to offer advice or support. What we will do is share our experiences alongside resources and information from professionals. We will talk over each other and we will go off topic and forget the point mid-sentence.
We are both assigned female at birth, which means that we can only speak from the experience of life as AFAB people. However, ADHD AF is an inclusive space. Whatever your gender, you are very welcome here.
Yes, you are.
ADHD as females. ADHD.
We found this article from verywellmind.com about ADHD and overcoming imposter syndrome. And it says, imposter syndrome is a term created by clinical psychologists Dr. Pauline Clance and Susan Imes in 1978. It is used to describe high-achieving people who struggle to recognise their accomplishments. As soon as I'm reading that, I'm thinking, high-achieving? I'm not high-achieving. How can I have imposter syndrome? Jesus Christ, that's where my mind instantly went. Anyway, people with imposter syndrome live in fear of others finding out that they're a fraud. Of course, they aren't a fraud. Their successes are a direct result of their hard work and effort. How ADHD leads to imposter syndrome? Well, many people with ADHD feel like they are imposters. One of the reasons for this is that you hide your struggles from the general public. People such as your boss and co-workers know that you are smart and get results, but you know you have to work more hours than anyone else at the office to get those results. You meet deadlines by pulling all-nighters and by making personal sacrifices, such as less time with your family. Only a spouse or close family member knows the anguish and struggle you experience.
It's funny, actually. I just want to note, in case we forget it further down the line, I think one of the most common messages that people send us is that they're waiting to get diagnosed. So they've done the fight, they've advocated for themselves, they identify as ADHD, and then as their date is coming up to be assessed, they're like, but they're going to find out that I'm not.
Yeah.
And even you have that as well.
Oh, yeah.
And you are ADHD.
I know
AF.
I am ADHD AF, but there's still this little niggle in the back of my mind that's saying, they're going to find out and you're a fraud, you don't have ADHD, and then this whole podcast has been a terrible waste of time.
But isn't it funny that the irony of that, the imposter syndrome in itself is such a common symptom of ADHD?
It is. It's just years and years of trying your hardest and, you know, really overcompensating and hiding your struggles from everyone. And it's just that masking, shame,
mirroring,
all of it just leads to this feeling of inadequacy.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, just to put some good news on the table, to carry on from that article from verywellmind.com, it says here, how to overcome imposter syndrome. Address shame. Addressing shame is very helpful. Remember, ADHD is a neurological condition, and the parts that you are hiding are a direct result of having ADHD. Cognitive behavioural therapy can also be helpful. CBT is focused on helping you learn to identify the automatic negative thoughts that contribute to feelings of imposter syndrome. Once you learn to recognise these thoughts, you can then learn to replace these patterns with more helpful, realistic ways of thinking. Rather than focusing on the negative, they will help you to see the full picture. Keep track. Start to track what actions you do so that you can reap the success that you have. For example, if you ran a marathon in less than 2 hours, realise that it wasn't just due to luck. You probably went running 4 times a week for 16 weeks and ate healthy food. Your hard work resulted in a great time, even though there might have been an element of luck, such as the weather may have been favourable that day. When you track your actions, it becomes easier to see what role you played in your success. This, in turn, makes it easier to own and celebrate your successes. Forgive mistakes. While it can be disappointing when things don't work out the way you want, it can also be a valuable way to gain knowledge and experience. Instead of beating yourself up for every mistake, shift your focus to thinking about how you can apply what you have learned to the future. Mistakes happen. Just remember that those mistakes and disappointments are also helping you grow and become more skilled and knowledgeable. Watch your negative self-talk. Start paying attention to your thoughts when you feel like an imposter. For example, instead of thinking, I hope no one notices that I don't know how to do this, consider reframing those thoughts. I may not be sure how to do this, but I'm capable of learning. This is probably the biggest one.
Yeah.
Avoid comparisons. If you are constantly comparing yourself to other people, you are going to find yourself lacking, which will only drive your feelings of inadequacy. Instead of thinking about how you compare to someone else, focus on learning from other people's expertise and experiences.
Yeah. Comparison is the thief of joy,
Indeed,
they say.
indeed.
And it's so true, but I find it really difficult not to compare myself to others.
Yeah. It is really hard.
It's a struggle. And that's the thing as well with ADHD is it like we keep saying is it displays differently in each and every person. So an area that you might be struggling in, someone else with ADHD might not be struggling in that area. So if you're comparing yourself to them, you're looking at the areas that they excel in and comparing it with the areas you struggle in. Of course that's going to make you feel shit.
Yeah. And, you know, you always say as well that you feel like the only person with ADHD or that you have it worse than anybody else. And so, like you say, if you're not seeing struggle in the areas that you struggle with, you're then further taking it on board that that person just isn't struggling. Yeah. Whereas you're actually not seeing the areas that they struggle or realise that that struggle is as severe as yours, just in a different area and in a different way.
Exactly.
Yeah. Shall we dive into the poll?
Yes, let's.
Okay, so the successes in your life have been down to luck, a fluke, or your hard work, intelligence, or creativity. What did you say, Dom?
I said luck, a fluke.
Me too, as did 63% of us.
Yeah.
It's really funny, actually, because like imposter syndrome has literally been screaming us in the face this week. Like literally, it's been ridiculous. And I we were talking about something and I started talking about my business, and I was literally telling the story about how everything was was a complete fluke, and having a good website led to Secret Garden Party thinking I was more established than I was, or maybe they just liked my designs. Never occurred to me before. I always said it's because I had a good website. And because I'd said Ibiza, or then I'd go to Ibiza, I say Secret Garden Party. And I thought it was the two going, oh, that's cool. She must be legit. And that is, I still believe, probably true. But what I can now see in looking at imposter syndrome is that could also potentially be classic imposter syndrome.
Absolutely,
actually,
it is.
I made a thing, somebody liked it, and I got to those two places through my hard work.
And
potentially.
You may well have gotten to somewhere because of something you've done previously. But that thing you did previously, you got to yourself.
It's still your work. Yeah, it's still
Exactly.
yours, yeah. And yeah, it's so ridiculous, isn't it?
It really is.
Okay. When you achieve something, you celebrate. That would be reasonable. Or focus on the next thing that needs to be done.
See, I actually said celebrate because when I achieve something, I'm so like, I don't know what the word, so amazed at myself that I've managed to achieve that I will stop and I'll be like, well, I don't need to do anything else because I've done that thing.
Right.
And then I'll end up falling behind with something else because I've just stopped because I'm like, yes, I've achieved something. Woohoo.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, let's go out drinking. And then I'll ruin like the next like the next part of the journey that I was supposed to do. So it's like almost like a self-sabotage thing.
Yeah. I think in relation to this podcast, it is like the most blatantly obvious answer is focus on the next thing that needs to be done.
Yeah.
Because Dawn and I, despite having got a top 50 Spotify podcast, 65,000+ downloads and all the rest of it, we haven't actually at any point gone out to celebrate any success whatsoever.
We haven't.
Not once.
No.
Not once. The only thing that we've done to celebrate are the silly reels that we've done. We have not at all congratulated ourselves, cheersed ourselves, patted us on the back. We have not celebrated at all.
But once we're finished this podcast, we're going to put a date in our calendar.
Yes.
And we're going to do that.
We're going to actually celebrate. And it's funny because in terms of like reward and like dopamine, and that's how our brain works, lacking in dopamine, I know that we both do it. We'll go, oh, look, we're coming up for 60,000, and the joy will last all of about 7 seconds.
Yeah.
And then we'll get, okay, what's next? Okay, what's next?
Yeah.
We do it all
Absolutely.
the time, you know. And I think in part it is the imposter syndrome because, like you said, well, I'm bad with numbers anyway, but like you say, like. You posted the other day on social media, it doesn't matter how many milestones we hit, you cannot absorb it. It doesn't belong to you.
Can't compute.
It's not.
I
Yeah.
cannot get my head around it. Like if someone else said to me, and this is how I try and look at it, I try and look at it through someone else's eyes so that I can understand it better. But if someone else said to me, you know, I've started this podcast 4 months later and I've got 65,000 downloads, I'd be like, holy shit, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Like, wow, like that's amazing. You've done so well.
Yeah.
But yet I cannot do that to myself.
Yeah.
And it's so frustrating because I deserve that, you know,
Yeah.
praise and gratitude and whatever other word that I can't think of at the moment
Yeah.
to myself.
Yeah.
But I can't get my head around it.
Yeah. I think it, like, it's also, for me anyway, is a bit like, and it's a weird thing because I was trying to pick this apart yesterday, and it's like, it's not like I'm sitting around thinking I'm the most awful person on earth. I mean, I've done that for many years, but since starting this journey, I cringe at the word, and, you know, starting medication and finally having the motivation and ability to do things, like, I don't think I'm this terrible, useless waste of space. You know, I know that we're helping people and that's incredible. And I know that we're on a path to making even more noise, you know, but I do think that perhaps it's that feeling of feeling so shit and worthless and useless you can't just shake it off. And so I wonder if now it's just like this constant need to achieve, this constant, I just keep going because it just doesn't sit on my back. It doesn't belong to me. So it's just like you get one moment of glory and then you're like, right, you fucking pull yourself together. You've got shit to do. Don't sit around patting yourself on the back. Like, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. Possibly. Anyway, actually, did I even give that? I didn't actually say the stat, did I? So when you achieve something, Only 21% of you said you celebrate. So 79% of you said you focus on the next thing to be done. And that is classic imposter syndrome.
Yeah. This next one, I think, like the results quite shocked me.
Yeah, go on.
So on completing something, do you dwell on what went wrong rather than what went well? 95% of you said yes.
Yeah.
And only 5% of you said no. And just to put that into numbers, 230 of you voted yes.
Yeah.
And only 12 votes said no.
It's crazy, isn't it?
So you all concentrate on
the negative
the
rather
negative
than
rather than the
positive.
positive. And
Once you've actually accomplished something as well, it's not just talking about worrying about something that's going to happen. You've ticked the box, you deserve a gold star, and all you can think about is what potentially went wrong or what you could have done better. And yeah, that really resonates.
Yeah, absolutely, because I do exactly the same. It's like it's like that self-sabotage thing. It's just you're just picking at yourself and picking away and picking away and picking away. And obviously that's going to have a massive effect on the way you feel about yourself, and the imposter syndrome and everything is just going to be magnified because of that.
Well, last night, I finished my course. I finally did it. I literally crawled over the finish line. I couldn't even bear to give it one last read because I was so sick of it. But I got my, it's a writing a novel online course, and I got my first 4 chapters and prologue in. And I literally pressed send, closed the computer and just looked up. And my husband just went, "So is that you done then? Have you just finished your course?" And I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Congratulations. Why are you being so weird? Like, you should be really happy. You've just completed this course you wanted to get on. Like, why are you not celebrating?" And all I could think was, I could have done better.
Yeah.
I could have done better. And thinking about that, what I've managed to do since then, purely because we're doing this episode, is that I managed to go, like, pick that apart and say, why do I think that? And what I've realised is that I could have put more time. I could have managed my time better. I could have put less time into doing the social media for this. I could have been stricter with myself and said, this is a writing day. Or I could have done all of these things, and mostly to do with time. And actually, no, I couldn't, because that's a symptom of my ADHD.
Yeah.
So actually, I could not have done better. I have done my best.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's not that I'm saying I feel better, but I managed to reframe it anyway.
Yeah.
Someone pays you a compliment, you disregard it, feeling undeserving of the praise, believing you could have done better. Well, it's the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah, and again, this was a massive difference with the votings. Like, there was a clear message here. Everyone's kind of thinking the same. It was 93% of you said yes. Totally lost the number on it.
7% said no.
And again, huge numbers, 223 votes to 17.
Yeah, feeling undeserving of praise.
I struggle to take compliments.
Yeah.
Like,
you always deflect it straight back.
Yeah, and it's, someone will say it to me and I won't believe it. Like, I can't.
Like, they're just saying it to be nice.
Yeah, it's just like, all right, okay. Like, someone will say, "Oh, you look great today," and I just instantly in my head, I'm just like, you're just saying that to be nice.
Yeah.
And that's not to take away what they're saying, and not that I think they're lying or anything like that, because it's not them. Like, what they're saying is probably legit, but
it's inconceivable to you that could be
my brain
genuine.
won't allow it to penetrate and actually take it for face value for what it is.
Yeah. Which
is annoying, because you want to be able to accept these things.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you regularly compare yourself to others unfavourably?
Yes.
Oh, really? So a whopping 96% of you said yes, and 4% said no.
I hate the fact that I compare myself to people.
Yeah.
I get jealous, and I hate the fact that I get jealous. It's one of my worst traits. It annoys me so much, and I try my best not to compare myself, but I can't help it. I'm just doing it constantly. They're better than me at this. They're better than me at this. Why can't I do that? Why can't I do this? It's just constant. And it's just another way for me to put myself down.
Yeah.
And it hurts when you compare yourself. So you know you shouldn't do it. And if anyone can tell me the secret recipe for not doing it, I'd love to know, because it's the thing that fucks with my self-esteem the most.
Yeah.
The constant comparison. And being like, well, everyone's doing better than I am.
Yeah.
And even if I look at someone that's less fortunate than me for whatever reason, I'll still find a way to compare them and make them better than me.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what it is. There's
Yeah.
always a way for me to find something to compare myself and be like, well, they're better than me. It doesn't matter about who's better than anyone.
Yeah.
It's frustrating.
I do feel like, because I immediately answered yes along with the other 96%, but what I did manage to notice about myself is that it was so all-encompassing my entire life. Definitely in terms of, I know I've spoken about it a lot before, like my height and my weight growing up. So I've always felt like, you know, big bird towering over everybody, and being fat in inverted commas was the narrative inside my head. So it made me feel really uncomfortable in like all situations at all time ever. And then on top of that, not being able to drive and being so bad in the workplace, like normal 9-to-5 environment, and managing finances. And so it was this constant weight on my shoulders of, I can't drive, everyone's got money and I haven't got money, oh my God, I'm so fat. And I just dragged that horse around with me for so long. Now, I am still taller than most women that you would see in the street. I am. And I am curvy. Anyway, let's not go down that road. And I still can't drive. And I'm slightly better than with money, but not really. But the only thing that has changed is diagnosis and medication.
Yeah.
And so within that, I wonder if that is what has changed for me, is that the medication in some way has regulated my emotions so that they don't override my logic, or the focus on what's important and what's really going on is overriding that.
Yeah.
And my emotions aren't taking hold and feeding all that negative stuff. And, you know, I'm definitely not going to say, oh, I'm now at acceptance. But I do know that the driving issues that I have and the financial issues that I have are due to ADHD. And perhaps I just like can stop feeling inept because I can see it for what it is. Maybe. But please don't get me wrong. I do still feel all of those things. But it was constant, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Do you set yourself unrealistic goals, then berate yourself for not achieving?
Yes.
Yes. 94% said yes, 6% said no.
I often set myself way too much. I do it every single week. I'm just like, I'm going to do this. And then I fail, whether it's diet, exercise, work, hobbies, everything. It's just I'm constantly setting myself up for failure.
Yeah.
Instead of being realistic with what I can achieve in the time that I have available.
Yes.
And then so I get really down with myself when I don't reach the goals that I've set for myself.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, you were never going to manage to reach those goals anyway.
Yeah.
So why are you doing this to yourself?
Yeah.
But I do it all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely do as well in terms of time. Trying to achieve things in a set amount of time, and you're never going to do it. Do you fear not living up to expectations?
Yeah.
Yeah, 96% said yes, 4% said no. It's quite funny though, isn't it? Because how do you even define that? Like that in itself is probably one of the unrealistic goals from the previous.
Well, that's your expectations are what
how do you know what somebody else's expectations are? Or
your expectations of other people are the expectations you have in your head.
Yes.
So when you're not living up to if you think you're not living up to someone's expectations, it's because you're not living up to the expectation you've set for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you just, again, it's like setting yourself up for a bit of a fall, really.
Are you sensitive to even constructive criticism?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I try my
hardest.
hardest.
It's RSD, isn't it?
I try my hardest. If someone's giving me constructive criticism, I will try my hardest to be like, well, no, that's important that I know and I learn from this, but you're still hurt. It still really hurts.
It's hurt, isn't it? Because it's not like you're advocating for yourself and saying, no, you're wrong, I was right. You're like saying, oh God, this is the exposure for the fraud that I am. Like, you know.
And that was, did you say 94 to 6?
Yeah, 94% said yes. Do you tend to keep your emotions to yourself?
Yes.
You're a yes and I'm a no.
I'm a yes. I don't know if it comes from like family growing up, like I don't have a hugely close relationship with my mum, so like we've never really been open emotionally.
Yes.
And I've always been perceived as the strong, funny one. And this is part of why my imposter syndrome, I think, affects me so badly, is that I have outwardly painted a picture of who I am.
Yes.
To everybody out there that knows me. They think I'm a strong, confident woman, and in actual fact, I'm the complete opposite of that.
Yeah.
But I just put on this brave face. So showing emotions is part of that. So I don't show my emotions. I'm very closed off with emotions, and unless I'm around the right company and you know, I can open up. I think I'm becoming more open, but it's still hard for me. Like I struggle to cry in front of people. I will have that knot in my throat for as long as I can possibly hold on to it before I would let go. It's such a struggle.
I'm the complete opposite. So the breakdown is 61% said yes and 39% said no. So mine is a no-ish. So like I've said before, things can upset me, but I think I can take it and I can think my way around it. They didn't mean it like this, they didn't mean like that. Actually, they've just got that going on. It's fine, until suddenly I cannot even look at the person.
Yeah.
That happens. Or the other is, I'm so previously, emotional dysregulation would probably be my biggest defining issue. That and RSD, which kind of play into each other, isn't it? So then the emotions, I wouldn't have had any control over them. It is just like bursting out into tears, howling like a banshee, like I did yesterday. Or getting really, really angry. So yeah, I haven't really been that in control of my emotions. But interestingly, having bawled like a banshee yesterday, I did realise I haven't cried for absolutely ages.
Sometimes you just need to let it out.
No, but I mean, as a person who just cries all the time.
Get you.
Right. So we've done that one. Do you fear being sacked, discovered for faking it?
Absolutely. Every single job I've had, I mean, I've been sacked from jobs, so there's a real fear because it's happened before. But every single job I've had, whenever I get that, like, oh, can you come into my office? Can that thing?
It's like in school.
Yeah. Like anytime anyone asks me to come see them, my instant reaction, my instant thought process is that I'm a way to get sacked, I'm a way to get told off, I'm a way to get like discovered, found out, like whatever. Every single time. And 9 times out of 10, it's nothing to do with that. And it's just like, oh, we've got something for you to do, or you know, can you help us with this, or it's usually something
just normal,
neutral.
Do you want to come to this?
Neutral or positive. It's very rarely negative, but my brain instantly goes to dread. I'm going to get sacked.
Yeah. Well, do you know what? This is probably completely not relevant at all, but it's so bloody random. And I was talking about this the other day with a friend, and I'd not thought of it for ages, but randomly, when I was a child, when I would hear sirens, I would think the police were coming for me. Isn't that weird? And when I'm like now in airports and stuff, like going through security and stuff, like I really worry that I'm about to be arrested.
On edge. If I'm driving, if I'm in my car and the police are behind me, I'm just like, oh.
But Jesus Christ,
happen?
what did I do at 8 years old that I was going to get arrested for in my living room?
I've always been like that as well.
So do you think that must be part of it? Do you think? So I was reading it. I was like, it's kind of being sacked is like going to prison, I guess.
Yeah. I've always been like that as well. Been like, oh, they're coming for me.
Isn't that mad?
What have I done?
Tell us, people. Does anyone else have that?
Yeah.
That's really random, isn't it? Do you downplay your knowledge expertise? 86% of you said yes, 14% said no. What did you say?
I said yes.
Yeah.
I definitely, there have been occasions where, you know, in work or just around friends and stuff where people are talking about something and I'll know something, but I don't even trust my knowledge.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't trust my knowledge sometimes. I'm just like, well, I know quite a lot about that, but I'm just going to be quiet because this other person might know more than me.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be outed again as a fraud or speaking crap or whatever. So yeah, I definitely I'll just stay quiet.
I think it's quite funny. So like my end, like the thing that came to mind with me is when I was doing diving instructing, I would have periods in the UK and periods away. And when I would be in the UK working in a pub or whatever, I wouldn't tell anybody. And a friend said to me, like, why don't you tell people what you actually do? Why don't you do it? And I just be like, oh, you know, it's weird. Oh, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I kind of thought about that. And it was like, I didn't want to come across like I was boasting or come across as arrogant.
Yeah.
And it's a weird one, isn't it? Because if you notice, that's one of the things that I grumble about a lot is when I think people have been arrogant.
Yeah.
Isn't it weird? And I don't know what that is. Do you think it's like an envy of confidence or something? Like I'm envious of people that can just be like, I do this. And I'll be like, so arrogant.
Yeah.
Or something. I don't know.
But I think there probably is like some envy, a little bit of jealousy in there. Because I'm the same. Like I'll like look at someone and I'll be like, oh, look at them. They're just being a dick or whatever. And then sometimes I have to sit back and it's like, wait a minute, hold on a sec. Why do you think that person is a dick? And it's just like, oh, okay. Because they're confident in what they're doing and you're not confident in what, like in the same thing. So I think there probably is. And again, it's that imposter syndrome where you're comparing yourself to this person.
Yeah, completely. Do you look for validation in authority figures such as a boss or family member and give them the power to dictate whether you are successful or not? 89% said yes and 11% said no. I am a big fat yes.
Yeah, I'm a yes as well. And past relationships have been like kind of proof of that as well, when I've kind of given people the power, so to speak, by, you know, letting them take control because, again, I put myself down and put these people above me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really funny, isn't it? It's like you're wanting, I don't know, like you're wanting the people that you know to go, oh, look, you're doing well. Could you hold it yourself?
Yeah.
Would you know you were doing well until somebody said you've achieved? Do you know what I mean?
I think there's like part of me that's still like almost like childlike in that way. Yeah. And that I don't feel like an adult. So like, I look around and see other people as adults. Yes. And I'm not an adult. Yes. Like at university, for example, one of my lecturers is a couple of years younger than me. I would speak to her like she was like the high and almighty adult, and I'm just like this inferior child student kind of, and I'm like, she's an adult. Talk to her on the level of two adults talking. Like if you met her in the pub, you would have a normal conversation with her. But because of the situation you're in, you're putting yourself down and putting that person up. And it's like passing the power almost, and devaluing yourself.
Yeah, completely. So then we did a just for fun. So 74% of you got the picture with the little girl in a lovely little 80s combo with a dog. Right, that is me, Laura, with the brown curly hair.
Correct. 26% of you thought it was me, but I don't know how you would have got that. Because it's clearly Laura in that picture. We're going to have to check these pictures in our grid somewhere. I think they're brilliant.
They are great. But this is the cutest picture of you, Dawn. You literally look exactly the same. Doesn't she? So 74% of you got it right. 26% of you got it wrong.
It's exactly the same.
It's Dawn, quite clearly. But I do think, but people do confuse us often. So even though like nearly every week I put on the grid, this is Laura, this is Dawn, like people, every time we put a video up, at least one person will say, oh, I thought you were the other way around. Yeah. So one more time for the people in the back. Laura is the gigantic dark-haired English person.
Not gigantic. If anyone's gigantic, let's not talk about gigantic. And giganticness.
And Dawn is the beautiful blonde right now, but her hair will change colour very, very often. But Dawn is Scottish. So moving on.
Yeah, so imposter syndrome, I guess, comes down to a lack of self-belief and self-esteem, all the rest of it. So that's the area where I struggle the most. I feel that I have very much portrayed an image of myself outwardly to people that I meet. And so people think they're getting to know me, but they don't really know me because I don't really know myself, if that makes sense. Like I've tried to live up to everyone else's expectations for so long that I don't even know what my own are.
Yeah.
I'm definitely a lot better than I was, and I'm trying to learn to be more me and live to my values, but I still find it ridiculously hard, because it's like I want to be the person who I want to be, but there's still a part of me that is just constantly trying to please everyone else, and I find that I mirror people. So if I'm around certain people long enough, I become a bit like them in certain ways, in certain areas, rather than just being myself.
Yeah.
You know, I'm 39 years old. I guess if you look at me throughout the years, and my friends would probably be nodding their heads, and how my image has changed over the years, because I'm still trying to figure out who I am. And I thought, you know, most people have that figured out fairly early into their adulthood. But I'm still changing styles and whatnot. I'm getting there. I'm definitely getting there, but there's still a massive struggle with who I am as a person. So that imposter syndrome is just exaggerated by the fact that I still don't know who I am. So there is this big imposter.
Do you feel like perhaps, did you feel like that this whole, like, I don't know myself kind of identity crisis?
Yeah.
Did you feel like that before you found out about ADHD, or is it in going through this journey and that you're now realizing that? Because I know that a lot of our listeners, and myself included, you then go through this period where you go, well, hang on a minute, so if this is masking and this is dopamine seeking and this is whatever else, then which bit is me? Like, which bit is mine?
Yeah.
Which bit is real? Do you think that discovering ADHD has caused this identity crisis, or were you aware of it prior?
I think I was aware of it. It's quite funny because I can look at certain points in my life where I thought I'd figured myself out, and I'd be like, oh, I know who I am now. I'm Dawn Farmer and this is the real me. And I was still in a bit of denial of who I was. And then something else would happen, like a big
but people change as they grow as well.
A big moment in my life. And then I'd be like, actually, I was still hiding behind lots there, but I just didn't realise it.
Yeah.
Whereas now I'm slowly, and I think the ADHD process and everything there, plus, you know, a toxic relationship thrown in the mix as well, really made me wake up and start to realise who I am and be like, no, you need to start living for you and not anyone else. Yeah. So I think all of those things kind of combined have pushed me forward and to start figuring out who I am. Yeah. But it's just kind of left me a little bit confused. Yeah. Because sometimes I'm doing something and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not doing this for me. Yeah. For the whole mirroring thing, for example, I've been getting my nails done a lot recently, and I don't usually get my nails done, and I had them long. You have long nails. And without me consciously knowing that I'm doing that, that's why. Yeah. And I don't even realise I'm doing it.
And I only do it so that I don't literally break my fingers down to the knuckle.
And then, like, I grew my nails and they grew quite long, and now they're all short because I was on holiday and I haven't had them done yet. But what I realised in that period is I like having my nails done. Yeah. But what I also realised, I don't like having long nails. Yeah. So, going forward, for me, I'm going to get my nails done. Yeah. But I'm going to keep them short.
The way you like them. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I'm like, right, this is what I'm slowly figuring out. And it's almost admitting to yourself as you go along the way. It's like, right, what are you doing for you? Stop looking at everyone else and figure out what you're doing for yourself.
Yeah. I definitely know, like, my identity crisis sort of hit fever pitch a few years ago, and I was doing a job because somebody else wanted me to do it, and I thought it's what I should do, and it was against everything that I basically believed in and my whole identity and everything. And I was doing this job and hating life and not happy where I was at all, and bit by bit, as everything kind of unraveled all around me, it was looking around and being like, how have I got here? And it was because, well, I've done this to please this person, I've done that to please that person, and I'm doing everything that I think I should. And in a way, I was sort of living a double life, like my life and then people who are in your life that have potential expectations of you and how you should behave. Yeah. So then you've got those two. And then what I realised is that within the life part, the bit that was actually mine, that wasn't a facade, even that was a facade. And I wasn't happy in that at all. And I think a lot of it came down to, and it must be RSD, and also this idea of like feeling responsible for people, was just like going along with things that you don't agree with.
Yeah.
Laughing at jokes that you don't find funny.
Yeah.
Speaking to people that you don't fucking even like. Just going along with it, because for some reason that's your duty, and that person who you don't even like is your responsibility for some reason.
Yeah.
Keeping them happy, even though you completely disagree with all of it. And in all of that, you basically have no integrity.
Yeah.
Because you're not being true to yourself. But again, I didn't give a thought to who I was because I was running so bloody fast with RSD, worrying that everyone was going to reject me and trying to keep everyone happy.
That's exactly it. And I feel like a lot of the time I've been a walking contradiction, because in one area I'm saying this, and then somewhere else I'm contradicting what I've said because I'm with different people. So I'm trying to please them and keep them happy. And I think a lot of it as well is I don't like confrontation. Never been a fan of it. Because I guess confrontation means that you have to, fight your corner and be vulnerable and whatnot, and stick up for yourself. And I find it hard to stick up for myself because, again, the imposter syndrome and all of that comes into it. It's like, how can you stick up for yourself when you don't even like yourself?
Yeah, advocating for yourself when you're like, no, you're right, I am a piece of shit.
Exactly. So it's hard.
So shall we talk about our situation, what happened this week?
Yeah.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
Let's.
So I don't even know where to start, really.
I've been really down since I came back from holiday. I've been struggling a bit, and I'm getting closer to assessment date. So,
it's a lot.
Yeah, coming back from holiday, being premenstrual, I was super depressed and down. And I do feel that obviously being away on holiday meant I was doing a little bit less for ADHD AF, and I know that I've not been doing as much as I could have been doing and as much as I'd like to be doing. And I know that Laura's been basically the driving force and she's really been pushing. And I know that when I'm in a bad situation and when I'm feeling rubbish about myself, that I pull back from things. Even though I still care deeply, it's like task paralysis. It's the inability to do anything. And I'll think about doing the thing, but I won't do the thing. So
then it's a cycle as well, because then you feel bad about not doing the thing. So then you have even less self-belief or drive to do the thing. And then you still haven't done the thing. So you feel even worse. And round and round it goes.
And so I've really been pulling back from everything, and not because I don't care and because I don't want to do it. It's just the imposter syndrome. And because Laura is a go push forward kind of person, she's been taking a lot of what I've not been doing, and then that then drives me to think, well, she's better than it than me, and then me believe that I'm not as good, and then it leads to me thinking she's taking control, and it just this whole amalgamation of everything that was going on. And because we weren't talking about it, led us both down.
Because we were both on holiday.
Yeah.
And it's been really, really difficult, because the thing is, I'm so aware of how much you have on your plate, and I know how I felt before my assessment, and you've had even longer to sit in that thing, and it's coming up and it's coming up. You've got so much going on. And I also know that you get task paralysis. And you're on holiday, and I honestly thought that I was being helpful.
Yeah.
So then when it came down to, like, not an accusation, because it didn't go to that, but it was like this feeling of, you're taking control, pushing me out, don't just go in and do the things that I said I was going to do, like, broke my heart.
Yeah.
Because I was literally like, but I'm helping you. I'm doing it because you can't do it. And that's it. And then it was just like because we sorted it all out. And it was fine, because it's so funny, because going into this this podcast together, we had no idea how much work it would be. We literally thought the two of us were going to sit and pretend we were on the fucking radio. I was going to do a couple of social media posts a week, and nobody was going to listen to us. And this is a huge, huge undertaking. And they say the worst ship that ever sailed is a partnership. Yeah. And this has become work. And at the start of this process, we talked about how we are in work. I go balls to the wall, or whatever the expression is, and I go in really, really hard, and I set an unachievable workload for myself, and I push and I push and I push until I burn myself out and I can't cope, and I literally crawl into a hole and can't get out of it for 6 months.
And then I start drowning in self-doubt and back away from everything.
So then I push even harder because I'm doing even more. And so we both did the exact thing that we even warned each other about that we do.
Which is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. And so I said to Dawn, can't you reframe it? It's not that I'm just doing more. It's I will burn out.
Yeah.
So when you're feeling oh, she's doing too much, I don't need to do anything, it should be more, she's about to burn out, I need to help that girl.
Yeah.
And it was just so sad. So we sorted it all out, and then the next day, even though it was completely sorted, I woke up the next day and my heart physically hurt.
Yeah.
And I woke up and the first thought that I had in my mind was, you see, Laura, no matter how hard you try, you are always going to fuck it up. You will always get it wrong.
No.
And that's how I felt. And I had it in my mind that Dawn thought that I was dodgy and that I was trying to push her out. And it just broke my heart because I was just it's the exact opposite. I'm trying to... You were I feel like you're carrying me. And it's it's not that I'm carrying you. It's that I'm trying to push us through to the next bit while you're struggling. Yeah. And that's it. So it's been a hell of a learning curve. And have you ever seen anybody cry like that?
She was trying to talk whilst she was crying, and I couldn't hear a single word. I shouldn't laugh, but honestly,
you were stop talking.
I was Laura, just stop talking because I can't hear the thing you're saying. But bless her. No, but yeah, and that was something else that I really noticed. And I was thinking about it this morning as well. It's we both think our ADHD is really bad.
Yeah. And it is, but just in completely different ways.
But exactly, we're just so different, and that's just something that we need to be mindful of.
Yeah.
And we both have our such strengths.
Yes.
And that's what we also need to be mindful of. And I forget about that.
Yeah, every fucking time she forgets about it. And it's so ridiculous. Dawn, you are the fucking podcast. You know the theme tune that everyone sings? You know the actual podcast that's actually physically on Spotify? You made it. There is no podcast without you. And just because I never sleep and am completely obsessed with pushing, that doesn't mean that you're not. It's 50-50.
I know.
It's 50-50, but we have to actually support each other, because it just goes to show, even though our strengths marry together so fucking perfectly.
Yeah.
And the whole point, and it's so weird, when we both left for holiday, we'd had a couple of drinks and we were we are literally body doubling, personified, we are female empowerment. The two of us together make one person.
Yeah.
And we are pulling the other one along. To leave it at that point, literally nothing happened apart from the pair of us go on holiday and come back to what we came back to. It just goes to show that being so different, our differences can really clash so badly.
Can work against us.
So
absolutely.
so badly.
But we're fine.
We are absolutely fine, and it needed to happen. And I think that was the thing that I found the hardest, and that was what was making me sad. It's not just about how I'm perceived, but it's I really, really care. And when I see you struggling, the only way, I couldn't even post pictures on Facebook a year ago.
Yeah.
And here I am doing all this bloody social media, talking to the camera, all the rest of it, It is medication.
Yeah.
Medication. Say it with me. That is literally it. That is the only thing that's evened out my emotional dysregulation, that has calmed my RSD enough, and this bloody cause, which I'm so desperate to fight for, helps me to push through everything. We can't compare ourselves to each other. We have to remember that we need to help each other, and we need to lean on each other.
Yes.
And communicate that, because we can help each other fucking massively.
Absolutely. It's about communication.
Yeah.
It is so important to communicate, because what had happened over that couple of weeks that we were apart is we've just let things build up inside our heads and then weren't talking about it.
Yeah.
So then when we get back together and we actually spoke about it, that's why all this came to a head, because we communicated.
Yeah.
And had we just communicated
as we went,
yeah, it would have.
And the irony being, I just wanted you to have a nice holiday.
I know, but I wanted you to have a nice holiday. And yeah.
So ridiculous. But, maybe at some point we'll get paid money to do this, and then you won't have to work so many jobs, and then holidays won't be as rare and as desperately needed, and we can pay somebody to do all the shit
and
that
we can have some
struggle
staff.
with. Because with that in mind, we actually got an email through a little while ago saying, from somebody who had emailed us the day before, saying, I'm RSDing really bad. I know you're busy, but I can't cope. And I felt quite upset by that. Like, not that the person meant anything by it or that they were being aggressive or bullying. They really were RSDing that bad that they couldn't cope. And that breaks our heart, because please remember, there are 2 of us.
Yeah.
And there are now 4,000 of you.
Yeah, we've got 4,000 of you on Instagram. That's like not including our Facebook followers, our listeners that maybe aren't on socials and stuff. So we're getting emails, we're getting Facebook messages, we're getting Instagram messages. And we will reply to you all.
And we really, really appreciate you reaching out. Honestly, we love hearing from all of you. We love being able to share this journey with you, but we are just 2 people, and at this moment in time, this isn't actually our job. Like, we have other things going on in our lives, and we have ADHD, so admin's really, really difficult. So just remember that. So
we will get back to you with the messages, but it might not be straight away. So if it takes us a week to reply, don't add SD. We will respond.
Remember, if you have messaged us, unless you're being mean to us, which luckily not many people are, then we are grateful. We are so grateful.
We love reading the messages.
Yeah, we are grateful. We appreciate you, and we will come back to you. We promise.
I was just about to pitch in there and say, likewise, if you appreciate us in return,
well, that was a good one,
and you'd like to support us on our journey, I've said the word. If you'd like to support us, then you can head to buymeacoffee.com/ADHD as females, where you can buy us a coffee or a few coffees,
10 coffees, 15
and
coffees.
then maybe we could use some of that money and we could actually go and celebrate.
We could actually go out and celebrate. Do you know, I wonder how many hours work we have actually put into the last 4 months.
Yeah,
I can't, because I know it's been all day and all night.
Yeah, forget the coffees. I know it's called Buy Me a Coffee, but on this occasion it's Buy Me a Wine.
Buy me a bottle of champagne, please. So yeah, we really, really appreciate everyone who's made their donations. We're so grateful, and it's really lovely to see the feedback that people write on that as well. It just really is so kind of you. It makes us feel like it's all worthwhile. That we're actually resonating, we're actually helping. That's the funniest thing, is like, the pair of us have gone around in our own heads thinking that we are aliens and that nobody else feels the way that we do. And now we've got a load of people, 64,000 downloads worth of people that have spent their life feeling like aliens too. And we now find out that we are all aliens together. It's really quite something,
we're
isn't
not
it?
Alone.
We're not alone. We are all in it together. So yeah, we really appreciate also anyone writing reviews for the podcast. That really helps us in the rankings, or not rankings, as in for people to be able to find us. I believe that helps. So those stars, those written reviews are really, really helpful. So thank you for that. And any shares, likes on social media. If you don't follow us on Instagram already, we are ADHD as females. That's us. So to conclude, should we do our Ask Us Anything questions?
Yeah, let's.
How do you cope with feeling robbed of the life you could have had?
We get asked this one quite a lot, actually. And I guess my answer is always the same. I stopped thinking about the life I could have had.
Yeah.
There's no point going back and thinking I could have been this, I could have been that. If I'd been diagnosed earlier, I might have achieved this, that and the other. The fact of the matter is you weren't diagnosed earlier. You don't have the luxury to be able to go back. So why waste any time thinking about what you could have done when you could actually be like, well, this is what I've got now. This is where I am now. What can I do now? Absolutely.
And it's easier said than done. And I've definitely sat in that place for a long time. But it does get better. This late diagnosis roller coaster is exactly that. It is a grief cycle, and you're going to go through the different stages, and you will get through it. And if you need some help and you can get some, then do get some. But my dad said to me the other day, if you were driving a car, looking in the rear mirror or looking in the rear window, I don't know, I can't drive, can I? I said, this is when I was like, if you were driving a car, I was like, yeah, that's nice, Dad, sensitive. But if you were driving along, looking behind you, what would happen? You would crash.
Yeah.
Right? And it is true. It rings true in your life. So, we're not saying just shrug it off. We know it isn't easy. Believe us, we are on this journey with you, but just try and focus on what's ahead of you.
I'll sometimes go...
Because otherwise you'll be robbed of the rest of your life.
Yeah, I sometimes start to dip back and I'll be like, imagine if I'd been diagnosed earlier, I could have done this and this. And as soon as I start, I try and catch myself. I just be like, wait a minute, stop what you're doing. This isn't going to help you in any way.
Yeah,
shape, or form.
not being diagnosed has damaged your past, but wallowing in that and focusing on the past will rob you of your future.
Absolutely.
So don't try and get through it. Would you be able to do an episode on relaxing for ADHD people? This is one of those questions where I'm a bit like, well, kind of, but we don't know how to.
Yeah.
And it makes you go like, please remember that we are literally you. We are on this journey with you. We are not doctors, therapists, coaches. We don't have the answers. And that is why we do invite guests on who do know more than we do to educate us, because just like you, we are learning on this journey.
So if we can find a guest
that
can help us talk about ways to relax.
But we also do have to remember, as we always say, there's no one size fits all. So ADHD is different for everybody.
Well, that's it.
You know, yeah.
Whatever works for you.
Somebody says, can I buy you an actual coffee one day? Oh, that's very sweet. We would love to. Are you going to take over the world? Which one of you is Pinky? Which one is the brain? That is a brilliant question. And you know what? I have started saying next up world domination. I say it all the time, don't I?
Well, why not? Dream big, baby.
Dream big. Well, which one is Pinky and which one's the brain?
I want to say you're Pinky just because...
Of my voice?
No, just because you wear pink.
Oh, I am actually in pink.
And I think you're just a little bit more girly than I am.
That's true.
So I think you're Pinky and I'm the brain, but not because I have any. Just because I have one.
I think that we're both half and half. Yeah. Do you find to-do lists are a positive form of planning or an extra way to punish yourself? I don't have it like a daily to-do list. I just have reams and reams and reams of lists on my phone. And then as I think of a thing, I'll be like, oh yeah, must remember to do that. Go into my phone and I'll find kind of whichever list that's meant to go in.
Yeah.
And I just add it to the list. But it's not like a daily ticking off. It's like, this is all the shit that needs to happen and there's multiple.
I enjoy a to-do list.
Do you?
Yeah, I like having a to-do list. But the best part is I never, ever get round to writing them.
That's on your to-do list.
Yeah.
Your mental to-do list.
Yeah. So like I do, like I've got tasks and stuff that I use, Google Tasks, and there's other things that you can use, apps and stuff. But like if I'm really trying to get things done, like a packing list for going on holiday and stuff is super helpful to make sure that I remember everything that I need to remember.
That's true.
Like I have to, that's one to-do list that I have
Always
to do.
Right.
Anytime I'm going away is do a packing list.
Yeah.
But yeah, to-do lists are very, very helpful and I do find them useful for me, but I just never get round to actually writing them the majority of the time.
Yeah. So someone else has said, how are you? We're all right, you know. It's been an eventful week, as I said, extreme highs and extreme lows. But we are really good. And it's funny because we just have to not, you know, Dr. Alex Connor from ADHD Addict UK says, you know, this thing is a brain disorder that tries to fuck with me every single day. I think it was Alex anyway that said that. Yeah. And we just have to pull together and remember to pull the other one up on it when the ADHD fuckery is winning. Yeah. Because actually, you know, we are all right. We're doing really, really well. We've got really exciting things coming up. We love what we're doing. Mm-hmm. It's just that we both have a fucking brain disorder and we need to help each other through coping with that daily. Yeah. Really?
Yeah. And my structure's way to change again. I've just finished my summer job that I've been doing.
Yeah.
And I'm away to go back to uni on Monday. So, you know, I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, the future's bright.
It is indeed. Any plans for an Aberdeen meetup? Well, actually, we have a lot of plans in the pipeline. Yeah, that's what you say. So there's no exact Aberdeen meetup right now, but believe exciting things are on their way. And I'm doing another event, Fashion Fest, a festive one. The details are not quite confirmed, but we will both be there then.
Yes, we will.
And so maybe that's potentially an Aberdeen meetup in itself, but we will at some point do.
And we are partaking in an event on the 2nd of October at the Chester Hotel.
We are. You, Me and ADHD.
Yeah.
It's neurofabulous.me, but you can just click the link in our bio.
Yeah.
And it says Aberdeen We Too event, I
Yeah.
think, is a fundraiser for the charity We Too. And it is an amazing it's not afternoon tea. It's lunch at the Chester Hotel.
Yes.
And we're going to be on a panel.
We're going to be on a panel talking about ADHD and ourselves, which is our speciality. So, check that out.
You can get
tickets for the event. So
Yeah.
if you're in Aberdeen or you fancy coming up to Aberdeen for that event,
2nd of October.
2nd of October, and we will be covering more of that in a future episode as well. So
Yes, indeed.
watch this space.
How can you cope with the long waiting list? I'm on a 3-year list and I feel like my life is on hold. Yeah.
It's such a hard question to answer. Treat yourself now as if you have ADHD.
Yeah, and lean into the community because there are so many other people that are going through what you're going through. I was on the list for, it was about 2.5, nearly 3 years, and then ended up having to go private. And Dawn's been on for like a year and a half, like nearly 2 years, is it?
Yeah, almost 2 years.
Yeah. So we do know, you know, unless you go somewhere like My Pace or you have the option to go private, not everyone, but most people in this community will be going through exactly what you're going through. So it is just pulling together and supporting each other.
Treat yourself kindly, and if you suspect you have ADHD, treat yourself like you do.
Will you discuss alternative therapies for those of us with a long NHS wait? We are going to do something similar to that. I mean, obviously the podcast is our experiences. So we are like documenting the late ADHD diagnosis process from our perspective in real time. But absolutely, we will, when we speak to other guests that have different experiences to us, that is definitely something that will come along, hey?
Yeah.
Do you realise how awesome you both are? Stop it.
No, we don't.
Well, no. No.
I'm like, what
You're
you on
lying.
About? I'm like, what are you on about? I'm like, nah.
If you could choose to get rid of your ADHD forever, would you? We have answered this question before, and yes, we would.
Of course you would. Why would you want ADHD?
Can you do an episode on ADHD and sex? Can't maintain focus or get in the mood spontaneously? The answer to that is yes.
Yeah.
We are going to do one, but it's difficult out of respect for my marriage and Catholic family.
Yeah.
So that's something that we would like to discuss with a guest. And 2 of the people that reached out and talked about potentially like hypersexuality as one of the topics, we said, go on then, come on and talk to us. And they didn't come back. So you just have to remember that we have to have a level of privacy within it. So it is an important topic. We just need to figure out how we would cover it. Any tips for feeling burnt out after school? No, I'm sorry. Rest. I don't know.
Yeah. Be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
Compassionate. Just make sure you give yourself time. Like you need to have some downtime.
And the final question, will ADHD hold you back from having kids one day? Now, this is a very, very interesting one. Because we constantly get asked, do an episode on motherhood. And what we've tried to do is speak to guests that are mothers and have their experience shared for our listeners.
Yeah.
Neither of us are raising families. We don't have that experience in our lives right now. We are both nearly 40.
Yeah.
Now, what I realised, which is so interesting because it links in to imposter syndrome, is that in not actually addressing the elephant in the room, which is that the pair of us are the same age and both that way.
Yeah.
This is obviously every time we've shared an experience, it has validated a load of other people's experience of the same. And here we are invalidating our own experiences. And I suddenly realised, well, actually, we probably should talk about it.
Yeah.
And that ADHD has played a role in that. And that's not for us to say that people with ADHD can't be good mothers, but it has been a contributing factor, that and past trauma has been a contributing factor to why at nearly 40, we aren't like most of our peers with kids.
With families of their own. Yeah, exactly.
So we will come back to that.
We will.
But we really hope that you've enjoyed our ramblings. Imposter syndrome is real. If you feel like your ADHD might not be real, or if that's a contributing factor to putting you off advocating for yourself, or you're constantly comparing yourself to others, please remember that that's really normal. And imposter syndrome is a huge part of ADHD.
Yeah.
So you're not alone in it, as horrible as it is. We are right there with you.
We are. And as always, be kind to yourself, be kind to others.
Lean into the community.
Yes.
And if you have taken anything away from this, which we really hope you have, then, and you feel like you want to contribute, then please do buy us a coffee.
What a wine.
Oh, yourself.
buymeacoffee.com/ADHD as females.
All right, let's go then.
Ta-da.
Bye.
Bye.
ADHD as females.